Alright, so I have here an email checker. What it does basically checks if your email is valid. It's a huge email checker. Alright, so I'm gonna run the program. Alright, so how does this program work? So if let's say if I type dash123 at gmail.com, the my program should be able to count the username, the domain name, and and the TLD. And possibly if we put a CCTLD here, it should be able to count that too. There are also arguments that uh, predicts if our email format is valid. Right. So let's run the program. Then you can see this is your user count. This is your user count. 7, total of 7. The index of it, the index of the at. Basically, it's trying to list the index of this at. And then this is your domain count. So it works. You've got Gmail. You've got 5 characters for your gmail.com for your Gmail. Then the domain index basically saves the data, or basically the index of the dot in your email. So let's say TLD index, TLD count. So this counts your top level domain characters. I'm still gonna implement. I'm still going to implement the accepted TLDs. Uh, I haven't set the minimum and maximum for it, but it should be able to accept uh, at least two character domain. But I guess I might stick with the general top level domains for now. All right. So yeah, it counts that, and your TLD index. This one is a bit let's say it changes. It's not yet complete. So if you're basically this TLD index sort of saves the very last index. So if you add something there, I mean the actual count of this would be 17 characters. But this is just the yeah, it's supposed to be yeah, but it is the proper index for it. 16. So you get 13 here, 14, 15 and 16 index. So yeah, we have no CCTLD. So it's 0 right here. Then this one is a prompt if your email is basically valid. Then it prints out your email again, just to make sure, just to check. So right now my current plans are basically trying to implement a recursion here so that when there's an error it should return me back to the very first segment of my code. Then I still need to actually implement the conditions on your domain name, the proper format for it, and then the TLDs. So this I will show up my program here. So like the very first one is like as my functions is mcar and the valid user email. This is like my main. At the end of this, it should remember the email I put there, and uh, yeah, I'm going to put my email as a reference to this as a reference. I'm gonna put it to this function, and it should be able to, yeah, return to the main function basically. But right now I haven't implemented it, so let's go to valid user email. This one, yeah, it's like, yeah, it's the email basically. So we have 80 characters for that, and then a temporary email. Don't mind this for now. So this one is like basically really important stuff. These are the counters basically that counts the number of characters in each part of your email. So this one counts your username, this one counts the domain name, this one counts the TLD. Oopsie. Yeah. This one counts the CCTLD, right? So, and this one are your, it saves the what index does your at dots locate is located, right? So now we we use getS to get the password, email, sorry. The reason why I use getS, because get I wanted to get the spaces basically. I mean, it is definitely better if we use scanf, but I wanted to, yeah, get the spaces between. So because I accept spaces in the email, right? I would eventually need to remove all that spaces, and this is what this segment of the code is. It's the purpose of this segment of the code, right? So basically, it only reads the non-space characters, the alphanum characters basically. And no, not alphanum. It's like characters except white spaces. So if it reads a non-space character in your email, it will put that to another array. It will put that in another string. And then as long as I see, so it should be able to get all the non-space characters, a non-space character, then save it to your temporary email, right? That's what it basically does. If it reads a non-space character, then the index of your temp email also increments in order to accommodate the space basically. So that's what it does. So let's actually try that. Let's say, because this is what it does if you put most of the like the program like intended. If you put like spaces in between your emails, it's gonna ignore the spaces. So let's say test at gmail.com, right? So it should, in theory, like remove all the spaces. So it did. This is your this is your email without the spaces. So it skips all the spaces in between the strings, right? In between characters. So there we go. You you've got four characters, and the same as user and the index of at, and the domain count, the index of the dot, and we got three TLD characters, right? So it says it is valid, right? So let's go back to removing spaces. Let's say, yeah, it works, right? So like an you uh an instance of your email that has no spaces is is inside temp email, right? So we want to copy the remove spaces from email, from the temporary email to our actual email, replacing it. So yeah, it's basically cleaning. We clean our original email and replace it with a clean one. Yeah. So then we just this is just for checking. We need to, make sure it works. So we put it out on the terminal. Next, this one is like the basically your counter. This whole segment of code counts everything about your email. So basically, um, so this will count characters until the character at appears. So if it did appear, it should not. It should stop counting. It should stop counting, and then like save that. Since it stopped counting, right? It should be in an index that is part of I mean, it should be an index. It should be an index for the at, because we stop counting before the at, and then when we reach the at, we have an index. And we're gonna save that to at index, basically the username. Yeah, the username part of your code, of your email. It should remember what index is your at located, and then it's going to continue along your email, searching for, I guess, more characters, more counting more characters. And then, where we left off, where we left off is like, yeah, where we left off is the value of this index. Then we basically we do +1 here because we want to ignore the add character. We want to count beyond the add character. That's why we start counting. Yeah, we start counting one index after the at your at symbol, right? Then here we go. Basically, yeah, running a loop. Then if it encounters a dot this time, I mean, if it has not encountered a dot, it should count. It should count the numbers, the characters, sorry, the characters before a dot, before your TLD, before the TLD, right? The dot com, the dot org, basically. Then if it ever encounters a dot, then that means that that's the end of your domain name. Then it should save the index of the dot, then run another counting, basically just counting the last part of your email, right? So if this one should finish up with a break if your email has if your email doesn't have a ccTLD, if it only has a like .com and that's it. But if it ever encounters a dot, it should go to this part of to the else condition. So this one basically you're saying there's a ccTLD on your email, right? So there's a, let's say that us that that ph in your part of email, right? So it should in yours should also count that part. That's basically it, like all the counting thing, because we're gonna need it. We're gonna need it in validating your email. This one is just for checking. We put it out all of the information we need so that I can debug it. We can debug it, right? But it's gonna be removed later on. All right. So this part of the code, basically, it simply checks if your email is. I mean, this is actually the part that is validating your email. It's pretty short for now, but I'm gonna add. It's gonna add up later. But it's not gonna be. I mean, it's gonna be smaller definitely than this counter. All right. So it checks if I kind of search the I search what's the what is the maximum characters, how many characters is you are allowed in your username. So your if your username is above 63, it should not valid, it should put out an invalid email, right? So the syntax here would be username should be it should be 0 to 9, should be 0 to 9. I don't know, sorry. Basically, I'm saying here is the first letter of your email should always be uh alphanumeric. So it's either A to Z and 0 to 9. So that so you're using your last your first letter of your username should be an alphanumeric character. And also the last your last element or last character of your username should also be alphanumeric, right? So it shouldn't be, so like you're not allowed to use emails such as uh, test 123 dot at gmail.com. It's not allowed. And also you can't do that test at gmail.com. That's basically it. It should be an alphanumeric. So you can do test.123 at gmail.com. That is allowed, right? And also another argument. Wait, this one, right? It checks the count of your email. It should be less than 63. And this part of the condition, it checks if your first letter of your username is an alphanumeric, is alnum from the C-type library. And then basically the out counter, right? The at counter. That's basically like the how many was your username, basically the size of your username. Then we might be subtracted by 1 and we get the index. We got the index. So right. So let's say test 1, 2, 3, right? You've got 7 characters and it should have an index of 6, right? So it so that it would track an exact the exact size, or yeah, the exact size of it. So it should get the your last part of your email, and then your a username, and the first character of your username. Basically, both be it should both be an alphanumeric character. And then we move on to smcar email, where which I is like my I coded basically allowed characters. Alright. So this one basically checks if there's a punctuation mark. I mean, there's a rule that you shouldn't have like repeating uh, punctuations basically. So like if I say test at gmail.com, it's good, but if I did something like this, .com, or test at gmail dot I mean dot gmail.com, or test dot 1, 2, 3 at gmail.com, it should not allow that, right? So that's the purpose of this function that I made. So that's basically it. Then it would if let's say your email is valid, it should print out your email. That's the part where you know your email is valid. Then if it's not, then it should ultimately print not valid. Why is my you would want well, you're probably wondering why my my error is it's like outside the if statement, or like basically it always goes to saying not valid. I mean, because I am going to convert this to recursion later on. That's why this is your base statement basically. Uh, this is your base statement, and the rest is like yeah, will be subjected to recursion. So let's go to how this smcar function work, right? So it functions. I have in mind that it should function like those C-type functions, right? If it's true, then it should put out one. Then if it's false, it should put out a zero. So there we go. So basically, you need to your parameters here is like the email characters, the array. So you're passing on the whole array here of your email. Uh, will be it's the function email. Then we got a counter 0. So basically, what this does is it checks if your right if it sees a fun is if it sees a punctuation on your email, it's going to check if that punctuation mark is one of these characters. So for example, we've got the only allowed punctuations in your email should be dot that is not that dot, a period, a dash, underscore. Yeah, that's basically the three punctuations that are allowed. The at is a basically it should skip the if it says your at, right? It should skip that. Then we got a counter plus equals 1. So basically, the counter here determines if you have an error or you have you have a strike. Yeah, you have if you have a strike, then now it's gonna return your email is not valid, right? If it has a strike. And then so this one is another, so this one basically says if your email, if it sees a punctuation character, it's also going to ask if the next character is a punctuation. If it is, you're gonna get a strike, right? Then your return statements, if you have strikes, then your email is not valid. If you don't, if you didn't have strike, right, then your email should be clean, should be clean from this punctuation rules, right? So that's about it for now. All right, let's test, I guess. Let us test. Let us test. So, all right. So let's say test. Let's head test 1 2 3. Let's add this hashtag in there, maybe. Yeah, and at gmail.com. At gmail.com. Yeah, it says not valid. Not valid because you have a character that is not accepted. Also, I have this part of code. Where is it? This part of the code, right? So basically, if I did this, if I just did test that, let's say test at Gmail, it's gonna say not valid because this is not you don't have a TLD. You're just saying test at Gmail. That is not an email. So it says so that is why the counter is important. Your counter is important. A lot of counters, a lot of your counters are important. So basically, it checks if your uh, domain, the domain. Wait, where is it again? Yeah, it should be your domain index. It should be your domain index. Since it did not encounter, since it did not encounter a period there, then basically that is not an email. That is not an email. So let's say let's say um let's say test, right? It should also put at a not valid error, or like a prompt not valid, because you didn't have any at there. So it saves your, those divisions, basically your at, your period. It Those are really important. So there's one way. I still need to add the do you call that the dot, I guess. No, the yeah, if basically there's a cctld, there should be another dot there. There could be an or argument. But for now, that is it. uh yep, thank you.